Hi, it's Mary Kay, and I thought I would do a post for those of you who are maybe newer to paper crafting who don't have all the tools and wonder what you need. We have posts on Cocoa Daisy Planner fans on Facebook fairly often asking, I don't know what glue to use. I don't know how to do this. So I thought I would run through some of the things that I use. This is obviously completely through my lens. I will try to tell you about a few other options, but I don't have them here because I have what I love and what I use. As a bit of a background, I used to own a local scrapbook store, and this is the kind of thing that kind of store was good for. You could come in and try different things out, and you could ask questions and bring us something and say, how do I do this, or what should I do about that? Sadly, there aren't very many of those stores left, so I'm going to try to fill that gap a little bit. So, because if you walk into a big box craft store and ask somebody what's the best paper trimmer, they'll say paper trimmers are in aisle 5. So this is my very favorite. This is a Fiskars Rotary trimmer. It is, the reason I love it is the blade stays sharp, it lasts a long time, it makes a nice crisp, sharp cut, and I find it super easy to use. So I can't get the whole thing in the picture, but so I'm going to show mostly the bottom, but this is what it looks like. And here's the great thing about this trimmer. The little fold out ruler arm goes all the way to 12 inches. So you can cut any sort of size you should probably need on this trimmer. You can see that I've made marks at some of the common measurements, 7, 5.5, and 5 that I was using for something, but and they are a little bit hard to see. I don't know if the newer ones have better, easier to see ones or not, but you can mark them if you need to. And then it's marked in inches both directions as well to help you out. Any paper, now I'm going to move it and show you the bottom. Any paper trimmer that you use has a fence. Some of them have them at the top and the bottom, and some only at the top, but you want to find this little ridge, and you always want to use the fence when you're cutting. In the store, I would always have people come in and I would see them do this to cut something. And then I would hear it doesn't cut straight. And the answer to that is no, you didn't cut straight because you didn't use the fence. So if you put your paper up against this ridge or whatever ridge your paper trimmer has, and you cut toward that ridge, you're going to get a nice, clean, straight cut every single time. The other types of trimmers, two main types, are the slide trimmer. Fiskars makes a very common one. You've seen it. It's marked a lot like this, but it has a little ridge or a groove, and then the blade is just a little orange cartridge that rides on a plastic thing, and it cuts down into that groove. It's very portable. It's lightweight, much lighter weight than this. At first it cuts really well. Over time, the plastic sometimes warps, and the blade definitely will dull, so you have to replace those little blade cartridges fairly often. Having said that, I have friends who use nothing else. They just replace their blade cartridges as often as they need to. Another kind that I used to have, kind of a high-end guillotine trimmer. So that's the kind like the old paper cutters at school, you know, where it comes down and chops like that. I had one from Tonic, which is a really nice model, and I didn't like it. I sold it to Emily. So that's Emily's favorite trimmer. She finds it, she can control it better and prefers it. Our friend Vivian, who is a master paper crafter, can't use a rotary trimmer to try to save her life. She prefers a slide trimmer. So to some degree, it just depends on your preferences. Since there aren't very many stores where you can go and try things anymore, I would go to some paper crafting planner meetups and see if different people have different tools that you could, and you might even organize that on purpose. Everyone bring your cutting tools or whatever so that everybody can kind of try other ones and see what they like the most. But this is my favorite. And you can cut another reason I like this is you can cut a very small sliver. You can do this with the guillotines too, actually. I think that's one thing Emily likes about the guillotine is you can get a really small sliver with this or with the guillotine. Not so much with the slide trimmer. When the slide trimmer starts to dull, it'll start to get, the edges of your paper will be fuzzy. The other thing I like about this, just before I leave it, is that this little mat is reversible. And you can see I've used it 4 different ways, and I need a new one. But here's so this is the cut most close to you. That's what you're actually cutting. So you can take this mat out and you can turn it around this way and use it for a while until your paper starts to get fuzzy because this is worn out. And then you can take it out and turn it over and use it this way and this way. So you get 4 different kind of uses out of your mat that way. And then eventually you'll have to replace it. It looks like mine is near that point already. Okay, that's trimmers. Scissors. So these are the only scissors I use for planning. These are from EK Success, and these are honeybees. They're non-stick, which is great if you're cutting through something that has adhesive on the back or whatever, cutting through stickers. They also make a plain metal kind that's called a cutter bee, and those are fine as well. The great thing about these is how finely they cut. So they have this little tiny tip. And if you wish to fussy cut things, they are great for cutting little bitty things. Now I can't get it out. There we go. So even if you don't cut little things though, these are small and light and easy to carry with you in your pouch and great for whatever you might need to cut while you're planning. Those are my 2 primary cutting tools. Now let's talk about the other thing that you don't need, but I love. This is my score pal. You'll find other scoreboards out there. This one actually I think isn't even made anymore. But what these are good for is scoring things to fold them. I don't know, you may have seen my video where I make folders for my planner, and I'm actually about to make one for the September planner. But this is how I do it. I use this scoreboard because once you make that little score, you fold toward the side that you scored, and then you get this perfect fold every time, and you can even make it really crisp with your tool if you wish to. But I just find this the easiest way, and it's marked off for things like cards and different measurements that people commonly use. So that is my other tool. Now, adhesives. All right, so the thing I use the most is the Scotch dot roller. It is by far my favorite adhesive. It replaced one that we used to sell at the store called Kokuyo that they don't make, well, they don't sell in the US anymore. And when you can find it, it's expensive. So this is, and this is not cheap. But what I have to tell you about it is you don't need a ton of it. So you don't have to go and cover every surface that you're sticking together. You can just use a little bit and it sticks great. So this is the permanent version. There's also a removable version in case you ever want one where you know you're going to peel something back up. Oh, and I just did something instinctively there. If you get some on a surface you don't want, you can just rub it right off. You can do it with paper too. So you can see I've got the sticky right there, and it will stick quite well. It's forgiving in that I can pull it up and reposition it for 10-15 minutes after I stick it down, and then after that it would rip the paper if I pulled it up, which is perfect because it gives you time to get right what you're doing, but then it's not going anywhere. The key to this is to always have your finger up here on the ridgy part when you're applying it. If you don't do that, if you turn it over accidentally and use it that way, you can sort of loosen the coil and it makes it hard to use. If that happens, you can open it up. These are the refills. So you can find these at the craft store. I think they're about $6, and of course you can use coupons. You can also find them online. I found the whole assembly online for about $16 for 4, which is a great price, and I bought them. But if, like I said, if you get it loosened up, you can turn it around, open it up and turn the thing and try to take up the slack, and that works about 2/3 of the time. So that's my favorite adhesive. The other kinds that you might use on a day, so this is a dry adhesive. The other dry adhesives are things like Tombow has a glue runner. That one I find strings a lot. I like this because the dots mean that wherever you stop, it stops. A glue runner tends to be, this is a really old one. They don't make this one anymore either, but gives you an example of what a glue runner is like. So it can be, oh no, this is a dot runner too, never mind. It can be, the glue runners can be stringy because they're just a continuous thing of glue that you roll on, and then when you stop, you get a little string. And then there are other types of adhesive as well. One that probably my second most frequently used one is, they're called foam squares, but you'll hear them called pop dots. That was a brand name that we all started calling the actual, you know, like Kleenex. Use them when you want to pop something up and give a little dimension to it. They're squishy still, so it doesn't necessarily add any bulk or anything bad to your planner, but it gives it a little dimension. So if you want to pop up a die cut or a sticker or something, just gives a little extra texture. You'll see Christine do that in her videos. And then there's glue dots. They come in different sizes. I happen to only grab one size somehow, but they are great for little things like little die cuts, little anything that's little and fiddly. So I'm looking for where the dots start. They're there. So the way that you use these is you stick the thing that you want to stick down. This is an acrylic piece from our most recent memory keeping kits. You stick that to the dot, and when you peel it off, the dot should come with it. That one didn't work very well, sorry. These are old glue dots. Okay, you stick that to the dot. And when you peel the dot off, it'll come with it. And then you can stick that to whatever you're working on, and it will stay quite well. They are also good for sequins. And these sequins were also in our most recent memory keeping kit. And I especially love it for this because these little fiddly sequins can be the death of me. But if you just use a glue dot, now they come in all different sizes. These are pretty small, but they come even smaller than this, I think. And you can just stick a sequin down, no mess, no fuss. I don't use wet adhesive hardly ever because the other way that you would do this is with zip dry or some other wet glue. And it would be far messier than that, as you can imagine. Okay, and then the last adhesive I want to show you is E6000. So you can get this at any craft store, anywhere. Its primary use in my house is to make clips. So I want to make this one into a clip for my planner. And the other thing I forgot to show you when I was doing cutting tools is this is a punch from Fiskars. It's a circle punch. There are a million different kinds. I happen to like these squeeze ones. I think they're easier to use, but they're all different kinds. You can see them at any craft store, and there are a million different shapes. I have every circle shape because that's what I use the most. And when I make a clip, I use E6000, and these are stickers. So I'm actually going to stick this to something and cut it out first. I'm going to stick it to this and cut it out first because if I don't, there's sticky on the back, and because my little circle, as you can see, is smaller. You can also see where I punched a circle with a bigger circle. So you could also, another way to do clips would be to put two of these epoxy stickers back to back. So I could back it with the owl or whatever, but I don't want to do that. I think I might actually make a different thing out of that owl. So I think I cut my epoxy sticker a little bit. Got to be careful. So now that's backed with paper. I'm going to use my E6000. Even if I was putting two stickers together back to back, I would use the E6000 because it's so strong, and it just it just holds. So I'm going to put some glue. I'm going to put some glue, she says. Oh, of course I didn't try this before I started. I'll get a fresh one. When you start them, you use this little deal to poke a hole in the tube end. Ah, there we go. And so I'm going to use the glue, and a fair amount, really. I don't want it to bleed out, but I do want to have enough to hold what I'm doing. And also it's coming out of the thing. Okay. And then I just make sure it's straight, and it happens that this line is lined up with the front. And I put the other thing on the other side of it. Now, I might put something heavy on top of this, but there's glue coming out, so I'd have to be really careful. And it'll take, I don't know, an hour, and then it will be dry, and I can use it as a clip. So those are the adhesives. I hope that was helpful. There are other kinds out there, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. The other thing I use all the time is this zero ruler from See-Through Ruler, because I can center things. So if I want to center something side to side, you just put the zero in the center of whatever you're doing, and then you can see the whole thing. So that's it. It also has it has holes so you can mark. I don't really know what the measurements are on that, 1/2 inch. And then it also has a little slot right here where you can draw lines to write with. That's what these are for, is to kind of make a dot grid to write onto if you wish, and then you can erase it. So those are my main tools. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.